Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to share his thoughts in the monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat at 11 this morning Indian Standard Time. Myanmar junta begins heavily restricted polls after 5 years, claims return to democracy. Hours before the scheduled talks between Zelensky and Trump, Russia claims control of Zaporizhzhia's second largest city, accuses Ukraine of prolonging the conflict. Amid the continuing political turmoil in Bangladesh, people protest in London against the killing of Hindus in Bangladesh. And a dominant Indian women's cricket team eyes series sweep against Sri Lanka in the 4th T20 in Thiruvananthapuram today. Voting began in the first phase in Myanmar's heavily restricted polls on Sunday. The ruling junta touts the exercise as a return to democracy 5 years after it ousted the last elected government, triggering civil war. Myanmar's junta leader Min Aung Hlaing claimed the country's elections as free and fair, despite being run by the military, which seized power in a coup 5 years ago.
Despite the ongoing civil war in the country and widespread violence undermining the process, Myanmar held its first general election since the 2021 military coup on Sunday. Now let us understand that why is Myanmar holding an election? Military ousted the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi. Aung San Suu Kyi ousted in February 2021 coup, just when she was preparing for its second term in office. Generals accused Suu Kyi and her National League for Democracy party of electoral fraud. Suu Kyi, along with her party leaders, was detained. Junta pledged to hold an election by August 2023. Pledged to restore a democratic system, but that was pushed back. Military lost control of swaths of the country. Lost battles with ethnic minority rebels and anti-junta militias. NLD was among dozens of parties dissolved. Voting will be held in phases. Voting going on in phases on December 28th in 102 townships. On January 11th in 100 townships, January 25 in 63 townships, covering a total of 265 townships out of a total of 330. Junta Chief Min Aung Hlaing has acknowledged the polls. Dates for counting and results have not been publicized. Previous elections used a plurality system. Earlier, candidates with the most votes won the seats. In line with an army-drafted 2008 constitution, 25% of upper and lower seats were reserved for serving military personnel. Those personnel were selected by the Armed Forces Chief. Fate of key political parties are in fray. Only 6 parties are competing on a national level, with 51 contesting with a single region or state. Many parties from last 2 elections have disbanded and anti-junta rebels have opted out. Only junta-approved parties remain, including military's proxy Union Solidarity and Development Party. USDP had won last election held by a junta in 2010. USDP is fielding 1,018 candidates, a fifth of the total registered. USDP, led by former generals, was routed by NLD in landslides in 2015 and 2020 elections. In 2010, armed forces held 25% of legislature, with USDP allies expected to win many seats. Military will have power to influence who becomes the president, government formation, and judicial and civil service appointments. World also reacted to the Myanmar polls. The UN, Western countries and human rights groups call the system a sham to sustain military rule. The ASEAN bloc, including Myanmar, has called for a fair and inclusive election. Junta Chief Min Aung Hlaing has made a major diplomatic push this year to win support for polls. Military dismissed international criticism, asserting election lacked coercion and had public support. Junta spokesperson Zaw Min said that election is for people of Myanmar, not international community. The junta that has since ruled Myanmar said the vote is a chance for a fresh start politically and economically. Bureau Report, DD India.
And DD India's Akhilesh Suman joins us on the story from New Delhi. Akhilesh, the most popular party, National League for Democracy, is banned from running in this election with the country's most popular politician, Aung San Suu Kyi, in detention. So how fair are these elections?
Yeah, that is the biggest point, that when you remove, when you ban, and when you don't allow the biggest political party of a country, it cannot be fair. In the last election, NLD has got 83% of votes. So you can understand that what mammoth support Aung San Suu Kyi party has got in Myanmar. And after that, in 2021, she was in jail, and she has, in jail. She has been in jail for last 27 years, barring a few years when she was in power and she was free to move around the country. So I think this is one of the worst things that Myanmar junta is doing by not allowing the most popular political party of the country. That one must understand that military has a role and political parties have a role. And when you talk about democracy, you should understand the difference between military and political party. Political party is the civilian government who should rule the country, and military should work on the advice and policy framed by the political party. But in Myanmar, it is totally different. It is the army which is deciding what type of politics and what type of activities will go in Myanmar, and political parties are just putting in the backside. And that is why you have seen that so many, insurgencies, so many resistance movements, and one of the major communities, one of the communities of Myanmar, the country, every country is, really pissed off with is the Rohingya community. Rohingya is a part of Myanmar, but they are forced to live outside the country. So I think instead of addressing these things, Myanmar junta is just not allowing the political parties who are real political parties in the fray. So I think that it may be elections are declared, even the counting dates are not declared. So one of the military persons will become the president and the officials of the government. But it cannot be held very legitimate. But everyone wanted at least to go for the election and see that what happens.
Okay. The election has been condemned by the United Nations and Western governments, but has support from China. Why is that?
I know that you can understand that United Nations is a body that keeps, track of everything that is happening all around the world. And United Nations knows very well that Nobel Prize winner Aung San Suu Kyi, the treatment is basically inhuman treatment she is facing for last 27 years, putting her in jail. In the military junta, that in a way that it is like a crime against an individual and also against democracy. So in that way, even it's quite justifies that this election is really a sham election. And Western countries also who are democratic countries and who somehow or other support democracies around the world, they also don't like the way junta is doing. So in that way, you can understand that what is the problem But China is a different thing. China doesn't have a democracy. It has a one-party rule in that way. So that is why that China either doesn't support Aung San Suu Kyi, or China uses Myanmar military junta for its own transactional business. China is transactional in that way, and that is why that China is okay with the military junta.
Okay, the voting has to be held in phases with certain townships barred from elections. So it will be seen how these elections are conducted in the days ahead. Thank you very much, Akhilesh Suman, for reporting on the story. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky met with Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney on Saturday in the Canadian city of Halifax ahead of his meeting with US President Donald Trump. Carney and Zelensky held a bilateral meeting to discuss the latest developments in the ongoing peace talks, and Carney affirmed Canada's full support for Ukraine. In a brief statement with Zelensky, Carney announced an additional $2.5 billion of economic aid for Ukraine. It will help Ukraine unlock financing from the International Monetary Fund.
I'll just finish with one point on Canada. We've provided military assistance, further military assistance. We're announcing today further economic assistance for Ukraine, $2.5 billion worth of economic assistance that helps unlock financing from the IMF, from the World Bank, from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, to begin this process of rebuilding.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who is scheduled to meet US President Donald Trump on Sunday, announced to also hold talks with European leaders as Kiev pushes for a stronger position to prevent Russia from prolonging the conflict. Meanwhile, Russia claimed to have taken control of the second largest city in southeast Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia region. According to the briefing, Russian troops also controlled Stepnorysk in the Zaporizhzhia region and captured Dmitrov, Rodyansk and Artyomovka in the Donetsk region. Putin said the takeover of Huliapol creates favorable conditions for Russian forces to continue their advance deeper into Zaporizhzhia, while the capture of Dmitrov was a significant step towards the full seizure of the entire Donetsk region. The Russian president said that the Russian army is fully capable of resolving the issue militarily. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Saturday that Russia could say Kiev was in no hurry to end the conflict by peaceful means. He also said that if Ukraine did not want to resolve the conflict peacefully, then Russia would accomplish all of its goals of this special military operation by force.
We see that smart people also appeared in the West. They recommended the authorities in Kyiv to accept decent condition of ending the conflict and offer good basic condition for ensuring Ukraine's long-term security, restoration of relations with the Russian Federation, and economic recovery of Ukraine. But we see that unfortunately, the ringleader of Kyiv regime are in no hurry today to solve the conflict peacefully.
You're watching DD India Newshour, still to come on the show. Guinea votes in presidential election expected to cement Doumbouya's rule, who took power in a 2021 coup. Kosovo heads to polls, hoping to break political deadlock. Prime Minister Albin Kurti's party seeks a majority. And Museum of Bad Gifts opens in Toronto, displaying the worst and the most unwanted gifts received by Canadians.
Meghalaya, the abode of clouds. A land so enchanting. It makes time stand still. With a distinctive and ethnic culture and vibrant tribal folklore. Filled with the goodness of nature. Every day here is an adventure. Home to music, passion, and to hopes and ambitions. Welcome to the magical land of Meghalaya.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Israel became the first country to formally recognize the self-declared Republic of Somaliland as an independent and sovereign state on Friday. The Israeli move triggered reactions in the region. Egypt joined Turkey, Somalia and Djibouti in condemning Israel's recognition of Somaliland as an independent state. African Union too rejected the recognition of Somaliland as an independent state.
Israel became the first country to formally recognize the self-declared Republic of Somaliland as an independent and sovereign state on Friday.
It's good to talk to you, and before anything else, I want you to know that I'm signing now, as we speak, Israel's official recognition of Somaliland and its right of self-determination.
On the other hand, Somaliland President Abdirrahman Mohammed Abdullahi welcomed the Israel's recognition.
After more than 3 decades of peaceful self-governance, constitutional order and democratic practice, Somaliland has received its first formal international recognition as a sovereign and independent state. This development affirms an objective reality that has long existed.
Asked by the New York Post newspaper whether the United States planned to also recognize Somaliland, Trump said no. Trump further asked, does anyone know what Somaliland is, really? However, Israel's move did not go well for Somalia, which rejected any recognition of Somaliland. Condemning Israel's move as an unlawful step, Somalia's government said in a statement. The federal government affirms its determination to pursue all necessary diplomatic, political and legal measures in accordance with international law to defend its sovereignty, unity and internationally recognized borders. Israel's move also triggered reactions in the region. Egypt said Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati held phone calls with his counterparts from Somalia, Turkey and Djibouti to discuss what they described as dangerous developments in the Horn of Africa, following Israel's announcement. Egypt's foreign ministry said that the ministers condemned Israel's recognition of Somaliland. African Union also rejected any recognition of Somaliland. The chairperson of the African Union Commission said in a statement that chairperson of the Commission firmly rejects any initiative or action aimed at recognizing Somaliland as an independent entity, recalling that Somaliland remains an integral part of the Federal Republic of Somalia. Residents in the Somalia capital voiced concern after Israel formally recognized Somaliland as an independent state.
I heard the news that Somaliland has received recognition from Israel, even though it has not obtained full recognition from the world. This is something regrettable, and that today Somali people and Somali territory are seeking recognition from Jews.
In the late 1980s, opposition movements formed across the country to challenge the military regime of Mohammad Siad Barre. In 1991, rebel forces drove Barre out of Mogadishu, plunging southern Somalia into chaos. After Mohammad Siad Barre's fall, Somalia split into regions controlled by militias and groups. In the northwest, the Somali National Movement (SNM) seized control and declared independence as the Republic of Somaliland. Somaliland declared independence in 1991, and Puntland declared partial autonomy in 1998. Somaliland sits on the Gulf of Aden along one of the world's most critical maritime choke points, linking the Red Sea to the Indian Ocean. Fuzail Ahmed reports for DD India.
Thailand will release detained Cambodian soldiers once peace is restored after the two countries agreed to a ceasefire following days of heavy clashes. Under the agreement, the truce took effect at noon local time and will be monitored by both sides for 72 hours. The Thai government said it reached the agreement after considering the impact of the crisis on the country's economy and international standing. Thailand in turn expressed hope that the Cambodian authorities will allow Thai citizens remaining in Cambodia to return safely. The coming hours will be a key test of mutual trust. The two countries have agreed to keep communication channels open and work together to combat disinformation, which has complicated negotiations. Thailand also expects Cambodia to assist in clearing landmines in disputed areas. Prior to the ceasefire, the situation along the border was tense. During the General Border Committee talks, airstrikes and clashes occurred almost daily, with frontline control shifting frequently, taking a heavy toll on civilians. U.S. military build-up near Venezuela is raising tensions across the Caribbean. The deployment of troops, aircraft and drones has drawn sharp criticism from Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Caracas accused Washington of trying to impose colonial-style control. Caribbean leaders are joining the chorus, calling on the United States to halt aggressive actions and seek dialogue to resolve differences peacefully. More in our next report.
The Caribbean is turning into a pressure point and the world is watching closely. The United States military is flooding the Caribbean with elite forces, aircraft and heavy equipment. On Friday, U.S. Air Force MQ-9 Reaper drones were seen at Rafael Hernandez Airport in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro criticized the United States, saying they are trying to impose a colonial and slave-like control over Venezuela.
It is impossible for sectors of US power to fabricate a virtual reality and impose on Bolivar's Venezuela a model of colonial and slave domination to steal its natural resources. That is impossible because here, there are people settled in the territory, in communities, in universities, in factories, in barracks, and these people have demonstrated sufficient capacity to lead our homeland on a good path, at a good pace, with good judgment.
Trump has accused the South American country of flooding the US with drugs. Meanwhile, Trump's administration has been bombing boats originating in South America that it alleges were carrying drugs. In US strikes have killed more than 100 people. Many nations have condemned the attacks as extrajudicial killings. President of the Commonwealth of Dominica has called on the United States to cease its bullying of Venezuela and seek negotiations to resolve differences.
Our appeal to the US is to let there be discussions. Let us sit at the table instead of having wars, instead of trying to remove governments in power, instead of moving to each other's country because we are smaller than you and you are more equipped than us and bullying us into submission. And so for us in the Caribbean, we are calling on the US to cease that aggression against Venezuela.
Earlier this week, the White House ordered the US military to focus almost exclusively on enforcing a quarantine of Venezuelan oil for at least the next 2 months. Since late August, the US has ramped up military presence in the Caribbean off Venezuela's coast alongside escalating sanctions, blockades and military threats against the oil-rich South American nation. Bureau Report, DD India.
On to West Africa now. Guinea votes on Sunday in a presidential election widely expected to hand Mamadi Doumbouya, who seized power in a 2021 coup, a 7-year mandate, completing the West African nation's transition back to civilian rule. The former Special Forces commander faces 8 other candidates in a fragmented field with no strong challenger. Ousted President Alpha Condé and longtime opposition leader Cellou Dalein Diallo remain in exile. Guinea holds the world's largest bauxite reserves, and the richest untapped iron ore deposit at Simandau officially launched last month after years of delay. Domboa has claimed credit for pushing the project forward and ensuring Guinea benefits from its output. His government this year also revoked the EGA subsidiary Guinea Alumina Corporation's license after a refinery dispute, transferring its assets to a state-owned firm. In Europe, Kosovo will hold a parliamentary election on Sunday as Prime Minister Albin Kurti's party seeks a majority to end a year-long political deadlock that has paralysed parliament and delayed international funding. This is the second election this year in Europe's youngest country. Prime Minister Albin Kurti's party failed to win a majority in February and coalition talks collapsed. After months of political deadlock, President Osmani dissolved parliament in November and called an early vote. If a new government is not formed and Parliament does not reconvene soon, the crisis would deepen. Lawmakers must elect a new president in April and approve nearly €1 billion in loans from the European Union and the World Bank, which are set to expire in the coming months. Polls open at 600 hours GMT and close at 7 in the evening. Exit polls are expected soon after the voting ends. A 6.6 magnitude earthquake struck off Taiwan's northeastern coast on Saturday. The U.S. Geological Survey said the second major tremor to hit the island within days. According to the center, the quake was felt across Taiwan, with buildings shaking noticeably, while no reports of casualties or property damage has been released so far. Taiwan Railway said it suspended 4 trains operating in Yilan, affecting more than 270 passengers. Fire department said that they received 2 reports of people trapped due to the earthquake and had dispatched rescue teams. In Yilan County, the area closest to the epicenter, local authorities issued alerts warning of possible aftershocks and urged residents to evacuate immediately if they found structural damage to their homes. Days of heavy downpours that spawned flash flooding and mudslides across Southern California subsided as residents of homes in the hard-hit mountain resort of Wrightwood began digging out mud and assessing the damage. The torrential rains were accompanied by strong gusty winds that toppled trees and power lines across the region, caused inches of snow overnight, with 4.3 inches reported at Central Park, the most since 2022. You're watching the India Newshour. Very quickly, let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. A thick plume of volcanic ash billowed into the sky above Mount Etna as Italy's most active volcano shifted its behavior. According to Italy's official authority, explosive activity at Etna's summit craters have been intensified, producing continuous ash emissions. The change prompted scientists to issue a red volcano observatory notice for aviation, signaling a potential risk for aircraft. Millions of anchovies created a rare natural spectacle. Buffalo race is back, showcasing the vibrant Tulu heritage. All that and more on the other side.
Uttar Pradesh welcomes to an experience like no other.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Here are the top stories of this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to share his thoughts in the monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat at 11 a.m. this morning. Myanmar junta begins heavily restricted polls after 5 years, claims return to democracy. Hours before the scheduled talks between Zelensky and Trump, Russia claims control of Zaporizhzhia, second largest city, accuses Ukraine of prolonging the conflict. Amid the continuing political turmoil in Bangladesh, people protest in London against the killing of Hindus in Bangladesh. And in cricket, a dominant Indian women's cricket team eyes series sweep against Sri Lanka in the 4th T20 in Thiruvananthapuram. Moving on to Bangladesh now. An internal rift overnight gripped the student-led National Citizen Party, NCP, over its proposed alliance with the Jamaat-e-Islami ahead of the Bangladesh elections in February. 30 of its leaders issued a joint letter opposing the plan and 2 ranking members announcing their resignation. The NCP, a large offshoot of the Students Against Discrimination that spearheaded last year's violent movement dubbed as the July Uprising, toppled the then Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's Awami League government. They emerged as a political party thereafter, with interim government chief Muhammad Yunus's blessings given in February. The memorandum has expressed concerns over NCP's alliance with the Jamaat, stating that its conflicts with the party's declared ideology and stance regarding the July uprising and democratic ethics are on the line. Also, members of the Hindu communities in London staged a protest outside the Bangladesh High Commission on Saturday against the killing of Hindus in Bangladesh. Protesters raised slogans demanding an end to the violence against religious minorities in Bangladesh. Demonstrators called for accountability and international attention to what they described as a pattern of targeted violence against Hindu minorities. And let's connect with Naval Sangh Parmar joining us on the phone line from Dhaka. Naval Sangh, most female NCP leaders are the ones who have opposed to this alliance with the Jamaat or any religion-based party. How would this rift, in your view, within the NCP is likely to play out in the days ahead?
NCP is the party which was formed after the ouster of Sheikh Hasina, and most of its founding members are the student protesters who led the protest march against the Kota movement and against the Sheikh Hasina. So these are in the NCP there were lots many participation of women, girls students as well, and the rift now emerge in NCP is that there is a report that the NCP is planning to have an electoral alliance with the Jamaat-e-Islami, Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami and other Islamist party. Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami is having a baggage history. When in 1971 there was a liberation war for the Bangladesh. At that time, Jamaat-e-Islami party supported the Pakistani forces, and they were involved in genocide in Bangladesh, in rape and murder of the Bangladeshi men and women. So there is a baggage, and no one can erase that history. So NCP and the female leader fears that if the Jamaat-e-Islami become more powerful, and if NCP go with the Jamaat-e-Islami, then they will lose their support from the female voters as well as from the liberal forces in Bangladesh, and their future will be diminishing. So NCP leaders, many of them, including female as well as male, they are against the alliance with the Jamaat-e-Islami, and due to that, there will be a political realignment, because in last 1.5 years, NCP was quite in term with the BNP, and they were jointly giving programs, protest, and they were having a good influence over the Yunus administration. In fact, the NCP is the brainchild of, it is said that it is the brainchild of Dr. Yunus. So now BNP became resurgent after the return of Tariq Rahman, and if there is a this kind of collision is not happening in the BNP between BNP and NCP, then there will be a rift in the anti-Awami League vote, anti-BNP vote, and that will lead to electoral strengthening of the BNP.
Okay, the Bangladesh Minority Janta Party, BMJP, registered itself for the polls in April this year. Could you tell us a bit more about this party and its ideology?
Well, Bangladesh Minority Janta Party was formed in 2017 while Sheikh Hasina was in power, but it got the registration from the Election Commission in April this year, April 2025. They will contest the upcoming election in February 2026. But there is a question for the Bangladesh Minority Janta Party is that in Bangladesh, if you see the demography of Bangladesh, there are 300 parliamentary constituency in Bangladesh. Maybe in 5 to 10 constituencies, there will be around 25 to 35%, or maybe around that much vote in the 2 to 5 constituency. In the rest of the constituency, minority votes are scattered. They are not in a block or in a particular region, North Bangladesh or Eastern Bangladesh or Western Bangladesh. In a minority population is there around 8% in Bangladesh, but all are scattered in the entire Bangladesh. So in electoral first past the poll system, you need to have a good number of vote share in some of the constituency. Then they can have a chance for win in the parliamentary election. So that kind of issue will be faced by the Bangladesh Minority Janta Party. However, they can if they make alliance with some big party in Bangladesh, maybe like BNP or Jatiya Party or Awami League, any political party, then they can bargain for their number of seats, and with the coalition they may have a fair chances to win some seats in the parliamentary election.
Okay, very quickly, how about the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, whose acting chairman Tariq Rahman recently returned to Bangladesh? What about its political activities?
Yes, nowadays he is busy with he returned to Bangladesh after 17 years, and in 17 years, many of his family members also lost their life, like his brother. Yesterday he went to his father's, we can say, buried place as well as his brother's place. And he is visiting some of the political leaders, senior leaders in Bangladesh. He is giving meeting to them, and he is busy with the disciplinary committee of BNP. And the task in front of him is to establish a discipline in the cadre of the BNP, and he is doing in that direction. He will. There will be a good fight from the BNP side to the next election in 2026 February.
All right. Thank you very much, Naval Singh Parmar, for tracking the activities of all the political parties in Bangladesh. Back to India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts with the people of the country and abroad in the last Mann Ki Baat program of this year, 2025, at 11 a.m. Indian Standard Time. It will be the 129th episode of the monthly radio program. The program will be broadcast across the entire Akashvani and Doordarshan network. It will also be live streamed on the YouTube channels of AIR News, DD News, DD India, the Prime Minister's Office, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Akashvani will broadcast the program in regional languages immediately after the Hindi broadcast. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday chaired a national conference of chief secretaries where he had insightful discussions on various issues relating to governance and reforms. Prime Minister Modi will chair the conference today. The three-day conference, which began on Saturday, is aimed at strengthening the centre-state partnership through structured and sustained dialogue on national development priorities. The conference focuses on the theme Human Capital for Viksit Bharat, Developed India. It covers the best practices and strategies for states and union territories. Under this theme, special emphasis for detailed discussion is being placed on 5 key areas, including early childhood education, schooling, skilling, higher education, sports and extracurricular activities. As the year draws to a close, winter conditions across India are set to continue to disrupt daily life with cold wave and dense fog persisting across several regions. Sub-zero temperatures were recorded in Kashmir, while parts of Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Jharkhand and West Bengal reported cold wave conditions. The Met Department also predicted scattered to fairly widespread light to moderate rainfall or snowfall over Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh during December 30th to January 2nd. Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand are likely to see isolated to scattered light to moderate rainfall or snowfall during the same period. For the next few days, the IMD has forecast a partly cloudy sky for Delhi with shallow to moderate fog during morning hours as fog and cold wave conditions continue to disrupt daily life. Amid freezing temperatures and treacherous terrains, the Indian Army has stepped up counter-terror operations in Kishtwar and Doda districts of Jammu and Kashmir. The mission to track and neutralize terrorists trying to exploit the harsh winter for concealment. Traditionally, the 40-day Chilai Kala brings a lull in terror activities as snow cuts off mountain routes. But this year, the Army has adopted a proactive winter posture, setting up bases and surveillance posts deep in snowbound areas. Several winter warfare troops trained in high-altitude survival and snow combat are leading the charge. Modern technology drones, sensors and radars add precision, tracking movements and heat signatures even in blizzards. Even in the stillness of Chilai Kala, India's defenders remain vigilant, turning winter silence into relentless action. So amid this, the apprehension over the redefinition of the Aravalli Hills, the Supreme Court took suo motu cognizance of the matter and decided to hear it on December 29th. The matter is to be heard by a 3-judge bench of the Apex Court headed by the Chief Justice of India, Surya Kant, and Justices J.K. Maheshwari and Augustine George Massey. The matter was listed as a definition of Aravalli Hills and mountain ranges and related issues. The Apex Court took the matter on suo motu basis after widespread protests by political parties, environmentalists and civil society members of the revised definition of the Aravalli Hills. They are worried that the change may lead to indiscriminate illegal mining and impact groundwater level, among other issues. The annual Mangaluru Kambala is back, showcasing the vibrant Tulu heritage with thrilling buffalo races and cultural festivities. Crowds, including curious children and tourists, flocked to witness the excitement in the southern Indian state of Karnataka, where winners were honoured at the grand finale. A report.
Among the many ways in which the Tulu community expresses its heritage, buffalo races or the Kambala remain an annual tradition in Karnataka's coastal region. In Mangaluru's Goldfinch City, the 9th edition of Rama-Lakshmana Jodokere Kambala got underway on Saturday morning. Racing buffaloes, enthusiastic community members and cultural events. A lot happened at this Mangaluru venue.
In order to encourage this traditional event, this is being conducted in Mangaluru city. It is a historic moment. We wish this Kambala happens successfully until the sun and moon exist.
And there were floodlights to brighten up the night hours as these buffalo races get held over a 24-hour period, morning to morning. The Kambala events bring together young and old Tulu community members and also allow others to get a glimpse of the Tulu heritage. Visitors from foreign shores were excited to witness the event and savor local delicacies.
But our first time coming here, it's just beautiful. We've been to Goa, and this is better than Goa.
So, enjoying Kambala?
Oh, very nice. The food is good, the people are very friendly, the beaches are beautiful.
Buffalo race.
Okay?
Buffalo race.
Buffalo race is awesome. What else do you want? Very good.
The annual Mangaluru Kambala concluded with much coveted awards for the winners.
You're watching DD India Newshour, still to come on the show. In cricket, 15-member Indian squad for the ICC Men's Under-19 World Cup 2026 announced Ayush Mahatre to lead the side. England win their first test on Australian soil in 15 years in the ongoing Ashes series. And 7-foot-tall last crystal for the New Year Eve's Constellation Ball installed at New York's Times Square. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I am Tanvi Taneja. On to some sporting action now. First news from cricket. After securing an unassailable 3-0 lead, a dominant Indian women's team aims to extend their superior form against Sri Lanka in Sunday's 4th T20 in Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala. Today, Harmanpreet Kaur's side has completely overwhelmed the visitors, consistently chasing down targets without allowing the opposition a foothold in the series. India restricted Sri Lanka to scores under 130 in every outing and successfully reached those targets while losing not more than 3 wickets in every match. The selection committee has picked the India Under-19 squad for the upcoming 3-match one-day series against South Africa and the ICC Men's Under-19 World Cup scheduled to be held in Zimbabwe and Namibia from January 15, 2026. Prior to the World Cup, India Under-19 will tour South Africa for a 3-match one-day series. In the South Africa tour, Vaibhav Suryavanshi will lead the side, while in the World Cup, Ayush Mahatre has been named skipper. Ayush Mahatre and Vihan Malhotra have sustained wrist injuries and will miss the South Africa tour. India have a strong middle order in the form of Vedant Trivedi, Abhigyan Kundu and Harvansh Singh. India also boasts a formidable bowling lineup which features the likes of Udav Mohan, Yuvraj Gohil and Rahul Kumar. 5-time champions India have been placed in Group B alongside New Zealand, the USA and Bangladesh. England held their nerve in a low-scoring thriller to beat Australia by 4 wickets in the 4th Ashes Test at the Melbourne Cricket Ground to claim a historic win. England won their first Test on Australian soil in 15 years, restoring their pride with a gutsy victory in a clash that was over inside 2 days. England head into the last test 3-1 down, but their effort has helped them avoid a series whitewash. A report.
England finally ended their long wait for a test win in Australia, registering a memorable 4-wicket victory over Australia in the 4th Ashes Test at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. For the first time in 19 matches and nearly 15 years, England tasted success down under, chasing a modest target of 175 on a challenging surface to avoid a series whitewash. Ben Stokes' side got the job done inside 2 days, making it the only 5th instance in Test history where a series has witnessed multiple 2-day finishes.
Awesome feeling. Been on a couple tours before where it's not gone too well. So to end up on the right side of the result after a long period of time is a pretty special feeling. That wicket was very tricky, especially with a newer ball. And the top order from both teams were sort of struggling to find a way to consistently be able to, score runs or feel any fluency. We went with an idea of sending someone who's got talent with the bat and a very good eye for hitting the ball, that even if he gets a quick 20, quick 30, that's massive in a very small run chase.
Australia, who had already retained the Ashes with a win in the 3rd Test, once again found themselves in a low-scoring contest. After taking a slender 46-run lead on a dramatic opening day that saw 20 wickets fall, England were bowled out for 110 in reply to Australia's 152. England bowlers then ripped through the Australian batting for a second time, dismissing the hosts for just 132. Bryden Cast led the charge with 4 wickets, while Josh Tongue and captain Ben Stokes provided crucial support as Australia lost their final 4 wickets for just 34 runs. Chasing a target of 175, England openers Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett led the foundation with a brisk 51-run stand. After a brief wobble, young Jacob Bethel impressed once again, scoring a fluent 40 before Harry Brook and Jamie Smith calmly guided England to home. This victory snapped England's winless streak in Australia and marked their first Test victory on Australian soil since the Sydney Test in 2011.
Tough loss in the end. I thought England came out today and played some really good cricket. They got the ball in the right areas and dismissed us.
Australia continue to lead the 5-match series 3-1, having won opening 2 tests in Perth and Brisbane before sealing the Ashes in Adelaide. The 5th and final test will be played in Sydney from January 4, with England aiming to finish the tour on a high and Australia looking to close out the series emphatically. Sports Desk, DD India.
And in New York, the last crystal has now been placed on the iconic Constellation Ball atop 1 Times Square. As the world counts down to 2026, all eyes will soon turn to Times Square for that magical midnight moment. That's all for this edition of DD India Newshour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.